Greetings, beloved. Hi, it's me, Dr. Amanda Noelle, and we have a video today to give you 5 tips to help you become more tantrically turned on with your twin flame. But of course, I have to start with some aphrodisiac anointment. This oil I got at our honeymoon in a really cute little crystal shop in Sausalito. So calling in the sacred space. So today I have 5 tips for you to get your fire stoked. What is twin flame tantra? Well, you can determine it how you want. I'm talking about sacred sexuality. I'm talking about uniting the energetic body with the physical form and bringing through the energies of the kundalini. I'm talking about healing yourself emotionally, spiritually, and yes, even physically. So this is for you if you're single and wanting to call in your beloved. This is also for you if you have your beloved and you want to take it to the next level. So I guess I wanted to start off with a story, which is that about 10 years ago, I moved into this beautiful mansion. It was kind of a hippie house owned by some wealthy people in Marin County. And I had a housemate that I had never met. She was traveling in India, and long story short, as I ended up living next to a woman that I had been following for a little bit because she was an expert in Tantra, and she had founded, according to herself, that she had given the teachings back to India. She was in Osho, and Osho had asked her to actually share Tantra with his community. And then if you know Osho, you've maybe watched on Netflix. I can't remember the name of the movie, but we all know that Tantra has really had a resurrection. So at the time, this woman brought this information to Osho. She said that it was basically extinct in India because, or it had really gone underground because the British colonies had taught those in India that Tantra is bad or wrong because of the whole Puritan energy. So just wanted to share with you some of the things I not only learned from this friend of mine, this former housemate, who, by the way, I kept on bumping into her in Bali, and actually a friend of mine, I would say, I bumped into the woman you introduced me to, and she's like, I just bumped into her in San Diego, and it's so synchronistic. So this wisdom is meant to be heard by you. So the first step for your twin flame tantric turn on is actually in your breath. And there are so many ways that we can explore breath work, and there is really no one way. In fact, there are many, many schools. Some of them lead back to ancient teachings. And there is a lot that we could talk about here, but I just wanted to start off with the simplicity of Tantra. And twin flame Tantra will require you to explore and I don't want to say master, but to explore and utilize your breath. And hello, I see all of you here on the chat. Good to see you, smiling back at you. And so taking the breath, let's take in a few breaths and bring it in right now. And imagine breathing into your womb space. And let out a sigh out loud, audibly. Let's do 3 of these. Releasing anything that you want to release. So while there is so much I could talk about, too much to say, these 5 tips, one of the tools that I wanted to give you immediately, if you haven't already played with this one already, is that you can actually visualize your breath going in, as we just did, into certain areas of your body. So if you have some tension in your neck, doing this breath work into your neck, if you have, been through a heartbreak, into your heart, if you've been having some womb issues or female reproductive issues, breathing in. It's not going to be necessarily an immediate release. It could be. and bringing oxygen and light codes and intention and really consciousness. Your own breath is your healing energy. It's your light. It's your life force. Without water, we can survive for quite a long time, but without breath, we cannot survive. So it's bringing your life force energy into your body. The other piece I wanted to share about breath and why it's so important with Tantra is connected to our birth. Sexuality and birth are the same thing. It's the creative life force energy that ties them together. They're two different sides of the same thing. So when we are not breathing fully, we are dying. So we want to really continue having breath practices every single day to not only awaken the body, but to keep it alive, to feed her, to nourish her with the most important nutrient of all, which is the air we breathe. Things like computers, devices, working at a desk all day long, we can actually forget to breathe. Research says that when people send emails, they actually hold their breath. And I have noticed this to be true, where I'll be like, what's the last thing I want to think? So just being really mindful of this. So let's all take in a big breath of air. Now, the second tip to turn on your tantric energy, your magnetism, and your sacred sexuality with your twin flame, with yourself, to call in your twin flame if you haven't met them yet, is to really tune into the power of your sacred chalice, your womb, your yoni. And what has happened to so many women, and it certainly happened to me, and hello, Shai and Tracy and Sajit and Vim and Queen. Love that you are here holding the space of the sacred feminine together. And those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you like this video if you get something out of it. Reminder to subscribe, and also make sure to click the notification bell so that you get the notification for the upcoming live stream I have every Tuesday at this point at 1 p.m. I'm going to be traveling, so it might not be possible to keep the time. Details on that coming soon. And you also will get access to the other 1 to 2 videos that I do every week. So back into the womb space, the sacred chalice, and the beautiful women, and possibly a few men who are watching and present today. Your sacred chalice is a symbol of you, your universe, you. So actually our yonis have the same holographic map. Our yoni has chakras and meridians, and our yoni is like a teeny tiny you. This is why it's so important to access this important part of ourselves. As above, so below, as within, so without. Our yoni is the mirror of the us, the I, and the eyes. Everything is truly a holographic mirror, but it is the symbol of our sacred feminine roots. It is the symbol of our sacred feminine origins. We come out of the womb. When we are female, when we're reincarnated into female bodies, we have the vessel that we came through. When we experience lifetimes as men, we don't. And this can bring up a lot of triggers for men. And when we were men, this possibly was why we maybe raped, killed, tortured. I don't remember doing that, but I imagine that it's very possible to be frustrated. And the other part of the womb is that she holds the subconscious wealth of information in our unconscious thoughts. So what I have studied in my clairvoyant research as a intuitive practitioner for over 10 years now is that what we don't want to see and know and feel and experience and process, well, that's of course stashed in the back in our subconscious mind. It's why I had a binge eating disorder. It's why I was addicted to love from men that wouldn't provide. It's why I stuffed parasites in my yoni, candida, thrush, for 5 years without any medical doctor being able to help me. It's because I didn't want to know the truth. And so I pushed it down in a place where I could get away with knowing it. My body knew it. My body was on fire. I woke up every night for years, not screaming, but itching and wanting to scream. I would have screamed if people weren't around me. And I did cry, and it was really humbling and embarrassing. And when I immediately healed my yoni through twin flame tantra, through my Gnostic wisdom, where I had connected to, long story short, ladies, I work with a light tribe. I work with, through the Akashic records, I have been connecting to my Atlantean priestess lifetimes. And so a lot of this wisdom comes through teachings from masters and guides, as well as me when I used to be a badass with Tantra. This lifetime, I'm remembering it because, again, the records were destroyed like they were in India. You know, Tantra was one of the places that brought that delivered the wisdom to the United States. Then it got wiped out in India. And then again, my housemate, who I met on video for a little while, and then she ended up being my roommate from Seattle down to California. Crazy story. And then I bumped into her. So anyways, definitely, if you are here, you probably have some of these karmic tantric past lives. You are here to bring in and breathe in these frequencies. And whether you teach Tantra or you just practice it yourself alone or with your twin flame, you are actually bringing this wisdom back. Now, the third piece with twin flame Tantra, and I really want to bring this home, is the importance of healing our shame. The reason that these teachings and tools were destroyed on the outside was they are naughty, they are dirty, they are bad. And unfortunately, we lost the records. We lost the information. The texts were destroyed. The priestesses and priests and the temples were turned into upper chakra only temples, and the lower chakra went underground. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't there. And we all know now that actually in many churches, many of the priests were practicing sexuality, not sacred sexuality, but molestation of children and pedophilia. And I believe that pedophilia has been used systematically to disempower humanity. And when I work with clients, I actually recently worked with a client, a very successful high-level business owner who's created a massive amount of wealth. She's been tapped into her sexuality, and recently she had a goal to bring in the divine feminine healing arts into her business because she's been going through a spiritual awakening and her old business model did not fit her anymore, and she was really burnt out on it. And so I came in and I did a clearing in which I saw that she had a pedophilia curse that had occurred in her bloodline. And so it was held in her DNA, and she had done so much work to protect herself, to clear it out of her own field, to protect her children from this, this dark force energy. And I said, I just see it. I see it in your family, and I see it pretty rampant. And she was telling me how she'd had some really dark energy with a particular relative. And he said, you know, she's been very severely abused sexually. And we did a prayer, and out of the blue, the next day she calls me. She's like, I know, it's like, you don't necessarily have to talk to me, but I have to tell you something about our session, this crazy synchronicity. And it turns out that this person in her family, this woman in her family that had essentially been very shadowy, abusive, sexually, verbally, possibly, physical attack. This woman had been involved in U.S. military sex. I don't know what you call it, but she and some of the children were being called to a military base and were being victims of pedophilia within the government. So this is firsthand evidence. It's stuff that I had seen in my clairvoyant visions. It's things that I have been reading about, learning about YouTube, and I'm learning about the year 1666, where in I think it was in Spain, there was the famous rabbi who believed he was the second coming of Christ, and a lot of people followed him. It was 666, and he was teaching about this wonderful version of Judaism where you're meant to practice incest, pedophilia, animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, all this really dark satanic stuff. So I do believe that as we bring in light Tantra, we are clearing out not only our own shame, we are clearing out mind control and pedophilia and satanic toxic codes. This is very dark stuff to talk about. So let's put in some butterflies and rainbows, and let's just bring some toxic bug spray remover or magical aromatherapy to get the toxic bugs and pests out of the space. Whew. Putting in a gold bubble of light. Ooh, that feels much better. And just draining out the energy down through a pipe that drops down to the center of the planet and recycles that dark energy. So what I want to bring to you is it's time to release your shame. And if you have been in financial struggle, that's a form of shame. If you are in a form of physical struggle, sickness, where you feel embarrassed to share about that, that's a form of shame. It may be coming even through your sexual shame. Sexual shame can be embodied. Oh, I don't want to feel my sexual shame in my yoni. I'll feel it in my jaw. I will manifest it in the form of parasites. I will manifest it in the form of back pain. So the energy can really move around. So what we want to do is clear our shame. So that is one of the things that I am going to be doing in Bali on 11/11/11. Well, not on 11/11/11. We're going to be doing the self-marriage rituals, but on the retreat happening from the 6th of November to the 13th of November, Bali was a space where I really found it easy to claim my sovereignty. On many occasions, I've been to Bali probably 7 or 8 times. Every time I went to Bali, I would get this massive healing. Sometimes it was really light and easy. Sometimes it was really releasing some stuff and transmuting. And I found Bali to be one of the most powerful places where people, they come back from Bali rewiring their shame brain, rewiring, the fear of that if they become themselves, no one will love them. If they really own their power, if they do, big things in the world, that they'll get tortured and killed. I had this thought, but I launched my business starting on 11/11/11. I married myself, started launching my business, came back to the US, and boom, things really took off. And it was amazing, because I'd always felt like, how would the world support me financially doing what I love as a psychic? Shouldn't I be killed for this? That was the message in the past lives, but not anymore. And it didn't have to be that way for me. And it certainly does not have to be for you. And now I see clients starting with packages in the 5-figure level, working one-on-one. Usually from time to time, I do have one-on-one little mini sessions that people can start off with, but I do massive transformation for women that I absolutely adore and love, women who are doing big things in the world, and I get to be a psychic for women who are playing a big game. A lot of my clients are doctors and lawyers and business owners who are reaching a lot of people, and they're masters at their craft, and now they're going back into the divine feminine healing arts, and they're healing their sexuality. So I digress a little bit. The shame piece is so important. So let's just call in a deep breath, bringing it into the third eye, and just taking a look and seeing where shame might be in your life right now. Again, I talked about it could be in your bank account, it could be in your home, or it could be in your physical health somewhere. Shame could be, you project your shame onto your partner. Oh gosh, I hate his outfits. So just be aware of where your shame is. Shame is a pathogen. It's a huge thing that lowers our vibration and can stop the law of attraction. So let's send a golden ball of light to that shame and sponge it away like a cleaning sponge. And yes, a lot of us psychic priestesses, whatever you call clairvoyant, intuitive, metaphysical, Energy workers, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of self-devaluing. A lot of women don't charge for their services. They think they're not good enough because these teachings are so powerful. Yes, they can cure cancer. Yes, we can change people's lives. And at the same time, in the back of our Akash, the Akashic records, in the back of our minds, 95% of our thoughts being stored in that subconscious mind, we can very much believe that we're not as good as a real doctor or a real lawyer or a real teacher in the matrix because we have been killed and tortured and burnt at the stake in our past lives for being light priestesses, twin flames, tantric warriors, etc. So I want to bring back the energy. Let's take a deep breath into the womb. So I've talked about so far breath, the sacred chalice, and releasing shame. And now I want to talk about, and there's so much that could be gone into these things. And for Sacred Chalice, you can watch some of my other videos, how to open your yoni, activate your yoni using things like moonstone eggs and the little, I forget what it's called. I want to call it the Kegel Master, but it's the Gynoflex is its competitor brand. It's this little V-shaped thing. Anyways, all these amazing things that you can use, jade eggs and vaginal weights. I'll go into that in other videos. And then the fourth piece to help you activate your tantric path is to have a regular tantric practice. This practice could look like anything from creating time with your lover and trying out a different position from, say, a Tantra book. It could be something simple like just massaging each other, doing a foot massage. This is actually a tantric practice. Tantra requires intention. That's the main thing. You could, share a cup of tea with your tantric lover and do a tea ceremony as they did in Japan and more originally China. So sipping tea in a sacred way. In a way, Tantra is sexuality, but in a way it's more rituality, spirituality and rituality. So Tantra could be something like Jack and I did today, where we sat in, not yum, but we sat cross-legged facing each other, put our hands on each other's knees, and we went through the different chakras and did toning while mirroring each other. And then we got silly and playful. And then, yes, of course, it just naturally, organically flowed into an orgasmic bliss session. So what I don't suggest is to consider Tantra being sex intercourse. It might lead to that, but putting the expectation or pressure onto that and putting the pressure that it be orgasmic, it may be very well orgasmic and soon show up to flow in that way. But we really want to make sure that we're emphasizing the spirituality, the healing, the releasing of the shame, the tuning into the sacred chalice, the breath work, and being fully open to healing ourselves and uniting with our partner. So speaking of the uniting with our partner, that's the last tip that I have for Tantra, is being open for your sacred union, whether you are with the current partner that you'd like to be with, maybe you're just dating someone and you both know that it's really just a physical and friendship type of relationship, that it's not going to pan out. That's fine. I actually had a very clear agreement with a man that I was in a relationship for about a year before I met Jack. There was a little break in between, so it was probably more like 9 months. But if I had not had that relationship to heal my sexuality, to connect, to love, and to process in a full open stage, I would have been holding on to a lot of old pain from the previous relationship. So sometimes we need to come together with karmic soulmates. Karmic soulmates aren't bad. Sometimes karmic soulmates are the perfect healing mutual agreement the key is we want to be very clear with our communication. First, my ex, this former lover partner, he said, I think we could be twin flames. And I was like, yeah, no, I really, really honor and respect that you see that. And I feel like a, delightful connection. And if you want me to be your twin flame, like I am not going to go there. And so we negotiated, and he was like, you know what, it is worth spending time with you. Like I really adore you and want to get to know you and want to be intimate with you. And so we decided to navigate that. Of course, it's very, very hard because you have to know how to close it off. Closure is very hard. Separation is very painful. Abandonment, dealing with the inner child, we both had to really work on healing our abandonment wounds. And he had some really heavy abandonment wounds because he had been left by his mother. And so it was just all so beautiful. All of the drama, all the healing was there for a reason. So I'm tangenting a little bit from the union. So with the union in Tantra and in Twin Flame Tantra, this is my version, by the way. This is my experience. I'm no more an expert than any of you that go out and pay attention to this, that study this for yourself. Now, there are many masters and teachers, and they'll have their dogmatic way, but I believe that the union is when we are using what I call the twin flame mirror, when we are allowing our lover to be a mirror of ourselves, and when they are going through a process, we hold space for them and see them as a part of ourselves, and vice versa. When we have a process for ourselves, we need to let them know in the mirror what's going on. We need to set boundaries. Now, there is the balance when you're in the boudoir and in relationship, where one person might want to go a certain way and the other person might not. And then you have this conflict. And how do you use the twin flame mirror for that? Well, there's always the perfect reflection in the mirror. So if someone wants, to be aggressive and play out an aggressive role play, and the other person's feeling very sensitive and meditative, then there is usually something that needs to be processed before the energies moved further. And in the processing, that's where that's where the next step of healing is going to happen. So maybe, the person who's feeling more sensitive and spiritual will be like, I hate it when you're always pushing this aggressive energy. I feel like a piece of meat. It feels horrible. And the person who's, feeling more aggressive, oh, it's just who I am. And I feel like you're always rejecting me. And, I feel like you don't accept me for who I am. And then maybe they go a little deeper and realize, wow, we both feel the same way. We both feel our needs aren't being met, that the other person doesn't care, that the other person is rejecting me, and I feel really sensitive about not being enough for you. And so tuning into the unity on that, then we will be able to move beyond that block. So it is now 1:30. I have time for one question. If anybody has any questions about sacred sexuality. Let's see. I do have a question. And this one could be great for next week. I have a couple of questions. Is it possible to confirm who my twin is? That is a great question. I do have a lot of videos about that. So thank you, Charlie. And if anybody has a question about twin flame sacred sexuality, go ahead and post it now. And what I wanted to say before we close is that Twin Flame Tantra is not just for pleasure. That's a very wonderful perk, of course. It's for the union, and it's for the transmutation and healing of humanity, the planet. It's all a hologram. As above, so below, as within, so without. It's not only on our physical bodies, it's also with Gaia, her blood, her water, her mountains and land and rivers and air. So we actually have a responsibility to heal ourselves. The Twin Flame Union is one of the fastest ways to activate the different chakras, the different glands associated with the chakras, having hormonal balance, having vitality, learning how to use the energy in your twin flame union in the physical is a real one, because I really want to focus on giving practical content on sacred sexuality in this topic. Will managing my twin in the thoughts, so to say, help with the union? All right, so it looks like there are no questions on sacred sexuality today. So we will go ahead and wrap up this video. And for those of you who have It's really up for you to decide. And any psychic who tells you this is your twin flame, this is not your twin flame, that is really disempowering to the person who is creating this situation. When we have a twin flame confusion, it's actually a riddle that we are here to answer, and we can get outside response and reflection, but to say, yes, this is, no, this isn't, that's really taking away from the purpose of this riddle. The purpose is to love yourself and to know yourself. So what I always say is I almost don't want to go into this because I really want to honor this sacred space and time, but essentially, are you asking the right question? And is this person, is Joe Schmo my twin flame? That's not the question that will get you the results that you want. So I have so many other videos about that. Look through my channel. Again, subscribe and like. And I am so excited to invite you to the new moon that's happening this Friday night. It's actually very, very, very early. It's at like 3 in the morning Pacific time. So we're not going to celebrate that live. We're going to celebrate it the night before, Friday night at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is for those of you who are high achieving, committed women, light workers who are awakening your divine feminine, or you are a high level career businesswoman who is ready to heal and navigate with your feminine energy, release burnout, use your intuition, strategize from not only your masculine mind and high level business templates and tools and being an overachiever, but really tapping into the magnetism of the feminine. So we'll be setting our 28-day goals. And this is going to be August 11th. It is the new moon in Leo. It is the end of the Lion's Gate. It's going to be a very powerful awakening, especially for rising the sacred feminine in the divine daughter. So make sure you are registered at aphroditeuniversity.org/new-moon. And I will post that link in the description box below. And I look forward to seeing you there. Let me type it in right now, and mark your calendar for the 10th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's aphroditeuniversity.org/new-moon. And this is something that you can absolutely do with a friend. It is from the comfort of your own home. So we are going to be on video if you would like. I will be on video, and some of our guests attend live on video. It's so much fun. It is for women only. It's a very safe and sacred space to receive, to share, to connect globally. We have women from Europe who wake up at 4 in the morning, women in Australia who get up early in the morning for this. And I would love to have you there. All right, my sister loves, so many great questions. I think we're going to switch it up so that I will share the post your questions here in a community post. I've been doing it in the Facebook group. If you don't know, we have the Bachelorette Boss Babes Facebook group. It's called Bachelorette Boss Babes Society. It is on Facebook, and I check it out and see what's going on. There hasn't been a whole lot of activity in the group, so we're gonna have to figure out how to get the momentum. Some women are sharing some really cool stuff, really vulnerable shares. My vision is that you all will gather and connect, and then I hop in and kind of check in and see what's going on. But right now, YouTube is my jam. So I'll be posting in the community a few days before next Tuesday. Otherwise, I will see you next Tuesday. It's an acronym for Cunt Pussy Power. Woohoo! Love you lots. Thanks for being here, seeing all of your beautiful comments, seeing this number synchronicities and the hellos and love. And yes, when I end the stream, if you want to post anything that you learned from this video or any more questions you have about sacred sexuality and Tantra, I just talked about 5 and went through them very briefly. If you'd like anything more in depth, please do post in that comments area, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.